Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the special meeting of the Englewood Cliffs Mayor and Council. Today is October 16th, 2018. I feel like we were just here a few minutes ago, but it wasn't. It was a couple of days ago. It's 8:05 p.m. I call the meeting to order. Madam Clerk, can I have a roll call?
Mayor Kranjak,
Here.
Councilperson Zaversa.
Present.
E. Park. Here. Councilwoman O is not available tonight, except I am calling via phone and she's not picking up. Councilman Park.
Here.
Councilman Wu.
Here.
Borough Attorney.
Present.
Borough Administrator.
Present.
And the Borough Clerk. Everyone's present, Mayor, except Councilwoman O.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's start the meeting with the flag salute, as we always do. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, would you please read the Open Public Meetings Act statement into the record?
Adequate notice of this meeting was given to the press and posted as required. Date and time of this meeting was legally given as required by the Open Public Meetings Act. This notice is on file with the municipal clerk and posted on the bulletin board. Minutes of this meeting will be made available to the public upon the completion and typing and proofreading by the municipal clerk.
Thank you. I'd like to, before we go into closed session, I'd like to jump to Resolution 206. Can I have a motion to... So moved.
Mayor,
Second. Have a roll call?
I have Councilwoman O on the phone. Yeah. I'm sorry. Could you repeat what you said?
And that was for Mary O'Shea, correct?
Mary O'Shea, I'd like to nominate Mary O'Shea to fill the council vacancy.
All right, second. Have a roll call?
Councilperson Zaversa.
Yes.
E. Park.
Yes.
O.
Yes.
M. Park.
Yes.
Wu.
Yes.
Passes, Mayor.
Okay, I want to congratulate Mary O'Shea. And thank the council for doing that. I'd like to actually swear you in now, because we're going into closed session, and I think it would be great for you to be able to join us in there. I need to get a Bible. Do you have one? Yeah, I'll go to there. Mary knows the drill.
So state that for the
All
record.
right, I will effectively resign from my seat at the planning board as of right now. And I will follow it up with a letter when I go home.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Mrs. O'Shea. Councilwoman.
Raise your right hand. Please repeat it. I, Mary O'Shea,
I, Mary O'Shea,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and allegiance
and allegiance
to the same
to the same
and to the government
and to the government
established in the United States
established in the United States
and this state
and this state
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people.
I will faithfully,
I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly
and justly
perform all the duties
perform all the duties
of the office of council member of the Borough of Englewood Cliffs,
of the office of council member of the Borough of Englewood Cliffs,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
See you this time.
Thank you.
Welcome, Mrs. O'Shea.
Thank you.
Okay, can I have we need to go into closed session to discuss a few items in private regarding contract negotiations and pending and potential litigation, including affordable housing.
No, time out. Excuse me, Mayor, I need to interrupt. The closed session resolution 221 has been amended to go into discuss closed session for the sole purpose of discussing the affordable housing litigation.
And nothing else?
Nothing else.
Okay. Give a motion to do that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Madam Clerk, would you please read into the record the appropriate language for us to go into closed session?
Resolution 221. Resolution authorizing closed session at meeting pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act. Whereas the mayor and council of the Borough of Englewood Cliffs has deemed it necessary to go into closed session to discuss certain confidential matters, and whereas the minutes of the closed session will remain confidential as permitted under the Open Public Meetings Act, or shall be released when there is no further need for confidentiality as authorized by the borough attorney. Now therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council of the Borough of Englewood Cliffs will go into closed session for the following matters as permitted under the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-12, affordable housing litigation. That's it.
Okay, thank you. So, we're going to go into closed session. It'll probably take about half an hour. The bar is open at the Bicycle Club if you want to go and come back. Otherwise, just enjoy each other's company. Councilwoman O, who's not here in person, cannot go into closed session by phone, so in case you're wondering what happens there, she will not participate in closed session. Come out of closed session, please.
Second.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to open to the public for comment?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so welcome back. We were actually pretty efficient tonight. We were done before half an hour was over. So if there's anyone from the public who wishes to be heard, please raise your hand. Let me recognize you. Come up to the microphone at this table here. Look out for the swinging doors here, and state your name and address. Yes.
Gail Ehrenberg, 51 John Street. I have come to the conclusion that this town will never have a civil meeting as long as we have special interest groups and people out for themselves. I watch, and at every meeting, Gloria O. and Ellen Park interrupt and yell out. They remind me of my children, who used to be reminded, use your quiet voice, we're inside. I wish these women would use a tenth of their outrage to the issues on hand of sexual abuse, of violence, and racism that Carol was put through. Our Republican councilman, mayor, and others have been subject to, but on these subjects, they are silent and unemotional. I see our mayor and the Republican councilmen have been taking something from the Democrats. They took from Michelle Obama's statement that when they get low, we go higher. I commend these Republicans, the council, for being gentlemen and for upholding themselves professionally and with dignity. Thank you, Mayor, Mr. Park, and Mr. Wolf. Now I want to touch on another subject of affordable housing. The Republicans came to power in 2016. Prior, the council was controlled by the Democrats. I've been in this town for over 33 years, and I've heard the discussions about affordable housing numerous times. Once they even were going to place it on Hudson Terrace, but nothing was done. Why don't you ask the previous administration why they waited and prolonged this matter? Why didn't they take any actions when they were in power? They had many years to do something, anything, but nothing was done. The Democratic-controlled council voted on previous contracts. I was chair of negotiations for the Board of Education. I took courses, I read books, so that I could really understand the process, the art of negotiations. My concerns on the board were the students, the staff, and the community, the taxpayers. The mayor and council must be fair with their employees, but must always consider the town, the people who live here, as they are paying for these services. So one must have an idea of how much they can afford to spend. You go in lower, and you usually get up to what you really wanted, but you have a happy medium. But you do not give the employee the right to set their own amounts, their own raises. You do not give increases that you know the town cannot afford. Secondly, a 5-year contract was given to a few employees. That would have been 2015. One was Chief Chaffee. My understanding was this was never done before. 3-year contracts were the norm. All of a sudden, new changes. But who voted on these contracts? The raises, the increase to 5 years instead of 3. The Democrats. And Ed, you and Gloria were on the council then. In Chief Chaffee's contract, it is stated that any lawsuit against him will be paid by the town. I was on negotiations, and I wouldn't give that to anybody. But Ed and Gloria did. You could have limited the amount, if you take an impasse to a certain amount, but you don't give away the whole store. Then on October 11th, Ed, you made a motion to dismiss all cases, lawsuits against the chief, because it was costing the town too much money. Well, the town would have saved a lot of money if you and your Democratic councilman never put that clause in his contract in the first place. You had the right to say no. That's what a negotiator does. They negotiate. You should have realized then that the town couldn't cover the lawsuits, but you didn't. Let me remind the public that even if there were 1 or 2 Republicans on the council, their vote was useless, because the majority, the Democrats, would pass whatever they wanted. Ed, a simple saying, I cannot put this in my contract, but you did. You didn't say anything or see how it would affect other people in the town. You put this burden, the Democrats put this financial burden on the people of Englewood Cliffs. Now you want to cover your tracks and save your hide by dismissing the lawsuits to save the town money. because it is costing too much, and it isn't fair to the community. Well, it wasn't fair in the first place to put into the contract. Again, a burden to all taxpayers. All you needed to say was a simple no, and learn the art of negotiation.
Is there anyone else from the public wishing to be heard? Seeing and hearing no one, can I have a motion to close?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we have a few resolutions to take care of. We've taken care of Resolution 2018-206, Resolution 2018-222, expressing intent to bond if necessary for affordable housing. Do you have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Do you have a roll call?
Councilperson Zaversa?
Yes.
E. Park?
Yes.
O.
Yes.
M. Park?
Yes.
Whoa.
Yes. Mary.
You have to
O'Shea.
take the other vote.
I'm sorry, Mary. Yes.
Okay, it's unanimous. Next up is Resolution 2018-223, authorize closing for purchase of real property and certify availability of funds for purchase from the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. Give a motion to
So
approve.
moved. Second.
Give a roll call.
Councilperson Zaversa?
Yes.
E. Park?
Yes.
O.
Yes.
O'Shea?
Yes.
M. Park?
Yes.
Whoa.
Yes.
Okay, that passes.
Thank you, council members.
Thank you, everyone. Next up, is ordinance 2018-15. And, what we're gonna do there is take no further action on that ordinance. Is there anything else that we need to say about that?
Nope.
Okay. And then that brings us to, the next item, which is first reading, with a public hearing date, I believe, of November 8th. And that's ordinance, 18-16, ordinance to accept title and record deeds for 2 real properties. Have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Councilperson Zaversa?
Yes.
E. Park?
Yes.
O.
Yes.
O'Shea?
Yes.
M. Park?
Yes.
Whoa.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Before we adjourn, I just want to bring everyone up to speed and kind of recap where we are on the issue of the tape recordings that have been in the news, in print, and on the radio and on television. So I just want to recap so everybody understands clearly where everyone stands on this. I think it's important that when you leave here, you have a clear idea of who stands where and who doesn't. So over the past several weeks, we have heard or had accurate summaries of certain of the 120 recordings made surreptitiously by Englewood Cliffs Police Chief Michael Chaffee. He made those after I became mayor for the most part. And just to reiterate, on those recordings, we hear, 1, the chief contemplating killing a then-elected official, Carol McMorrow. 2, the chief participating in a racist discussion where Captain Murphy refers to Mark Park as a boardwalk clown whose mouth you shoot water into. 3, the chief participating in a racist discussion with police officers creating disparaging rhymes with Councilman Wu's name and former Councilman Liang's name. 4, the chief or one of his officers making racist ape sounds in the background. 5, the chief ordering police officers to follow me when I drive through town. 6, discussion by the chief and Englewood Cliffs Police Department leadership, basically stealing overtime and covering it up. He also tells the officers how a neighboring chief in Fort Lee steals overtime. His words, not mine. 7, participation in a discussion with senior Englewood Cliffs Police Department leadership about bringing guys in to take care of the mayor and Carol McMorrow. 8, encouraging officers like Lieutenant Tracy to bring baseless lawsuits against the town. 9, discussion by the chief in front of senior officers and other Borough Hall employees about the anal penetration of a woman in graphic terms, complete with laughter, because it is just so fantastically funny when you are the chief and some of the borough employees. I remind everyone that the borough has a zero-tolerance policy against workplace violence, racism, sexual harassment, and sexually explicit language. I have condemned the chief's and the 3 other police officers' hate speech, which promoted workplace violence, racism, sexual harassment, and sexually explicit language. I have also heard loudly and clearly the condemnation from Councilman Park and Wu, former council members McMorrow, Liang, Farrow, Consalvo, and Eastwood. Donnie also condemns the chief's hate speech. However, I have not heard condemnation of the chief's or his hate speech from Councilman Aversa, Councilwoman O, and Councilwoman Ellen Park. In fact, not only did they fail to condemn the chief's hatred and violence, but after our regular meeting last week, they affirmatively tried to dismiss all charges stemming from the chief's behavior in what was a defining moment of their treachery. Given your inability to make proper moral decisions in the face of your personal political allegiances, you all need to reevaluate your role in the government of this borough. Even the Bergen Record, which is no great friend of mine, agreed with me twice over the last week and clearly stated that Kranjak is right. Choppy has to go. Last week, I publicly invited the PVA representative, Sergeant Ben Totten, who spoke here, to join me in the condemnation of hate speech when he spoke. He would not do so. Last week, I also publicly invited former Mayor Joseph Parisi to join me in the condemnation. He sat there red-faced, and he too would not do so. We have invited our elected state senator and assembly members, Loretta Weinberg, Valerie Huddle, and Gordon Johnson, to join me in the condemnation. They failed to do so. As your elected representatives to the state government, their silence condones hate speech, promoting workplace violence, racism, sexual harassment, and sexually explicit language. That's just wrong. I have also invited the Bergen County Acting Prosecutor Kalo and New Jersey Attorney General Graywall to join me in condemning our police chief's hate speech. They too remain silent. Additionally, the founders and publishers of the self-professed nonpartisan, but in reality partisan, Eye on the Cliffs newsletter, Karen Geiger, Debbie Sabari, I think Ms. Liascos as well, have not condemned the chief or his hate-filled recordings. That speaks volumes. Next time it shows up in your mail, throw it out. Others who have not condemned the chief or his hate speech-filled recordings, not surprisingly, include the following people. They often sit in the back there, but they're not here tonight. Debbie Fair, Lynn Norton, Joseph Favaro, Yvonne Favaro, David DiGregorio, David Sivan, Albie Wunsch, Terry Plawker, Patricia Dramones, George Dramones, Andrew Nikow, and then Jimmy Tedesco and Jimmy Song. Oh, I forgot one. The Police Chiefs Association, which is usually very vocal in opposing anything I do, they also failed to say anything. Do you see a pattern here, folks? The takeaway for everyone here this evening, and for those residents watching later, is that hate speech, promoting workplace violence, racism, sexual harassment, and sexually explicit language are not and should not be political issues, and should not be portrayed that way. They are right versus wrong issues, and perhaps in some of the speech, criminal versus non-criminal issues. Our chief and certain officers said it. The chief recorded it, and you all listened to it, and I'm dealing with it. And I thank everyone for supporting me. I ask everyone here and at home to reflect on what kind of people you are and what are you willing to tolerate when it comes to hatred. If you have any tolerance for hatred, then Englewood Cliffs is just not a good town for you, because I am ridding us of hatred with the help of those who support me. Even if those who are paid very well to do so in government, as I mentioned earlier, and law enforcement, choose to not do their jobs or to be true to their oaths of office. Thank you. Have a motion to adjourn? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out this evening.